see you there. Oh, just an apple, organically grown. Kind of delicious. Some people think that foods that aren't grown organically are just as good, but I just don't see it. So, here today to talk to you about genetically modified foods. About what the deal is with them and everything. So, what is genetically modified food? It's a food that has genes transferred from another plant into the current plant in order to create some sort of super plant with some extra abilities. Like, for instance, the ability to resist pesticides, herbicides, and in general just make it able to grow faster and feed people better.
I'd like to correct something and add on a little bit to what you said there. You know, genetically modified crops, they don't take the genes from other plants.
Really?
They actually take them from bacteria.
Bacteria? Like
yes.
Off the ground?
Well, off the ground in other places. I know, it's a very yummy thought. But I'd also like to throw in that regulation of these plants is just a little substandard in our country. See, they're regulated like regular crops because people think that they're so similar. But no, this is a fully new thing here. And we need to treat it like that, and we need to add regulations and restrictions until we know what these things do. We need to follow the precautionary principle. And you know what? Europe's doing that. Why aren't we doing that?
Precautionary principle. That's where you make sure that what you're going to be eating is not going to eventually kill us, right?
Right.
Oh, sounds like a good advice to me.
Yep.
Now, the question I'm sure you're all asking yourself is, are genetically modified foods really safe for humans to ingest? Well, there's a few things that you might want to think about before that question really comes to light. For instance, the new genes that we're putting into the food, they could create a new allergen. A bunch of people could suddenly become allergic to food that nobody else would have expected that to happen to. Not only that, but there could be additional side effects from the added genes too. You don't know what they would do. Nobody does. Which is why we exercise caution with precautionary principle, or at least Europe does.
Another important issue is its impact on the environment. If you didn't know, using herbicides or pesticides can create resistances through a sort of forced evolution in weeds and any kind of pest that troubles plants. Using pesticides and herbicides to this extent can create super weeds or super pests, which are just resistant to just about everything and almost impossible to kill. Here's a dramatic reenactment of what could be of these super weeds. And I'm gonna warn you, your discretion is advised. Could be traumatizing for some of you younger viewers. Let's see that.
I don't care what it takes. Only one of us gets out of here alive.
Better wait a minute. You better hold the phone. Better mind your manners. Better change your tone. Don't you threaten me, son. You got a lot of gold. We're gonna do things my way, or we won't do things at all.
Frightening stuff, isn't it? But hey, more regulations, we won't see this kind of thing. And don't worry, kids, you're safe. But other creatures are not safe. As in an earlier, back in the 1990s, there was a case where the pesticides were supposed to kill a certain insect that was eating BT corn. But the pollen from this corn didn't kill just these insects. It also killed a population of monarch butterflies nearby that did not feed on the corn. These unintended consequences of genetic engineering is very bad for the environment.
Now, of course, what you may be thinking about these genetically modified crops and foods, they may be able to help solve the hunger of the world because they're able to produce more crops in less time. Fortunately, that's not the reality of it. Biotech corporations, which are corporations that produce genetically modified crops and sell them, are completely destroying the economy with crops. In third world countries, the food that's being sold from out of country is effectively making farming impossible because of the low prices of the food. It's similar to the Walmart effect. The Walmart effect is when a large company forces smaller companies out of business because it produces the same product at lower prices. Monsanto is a biotech corporation who is probably the equivalent of Walmart compared to small farmers.
One of the big controversies in genetically modified foods is whether or not it should be labeled. Biotech companies feel that labeling crops would create some sort of panic, and that they would lose business off of this. But a lot of people just don't want to eat genetically modified food. I mean, look at this. Do you see a label anywhere? I have no idea what I'm eating. A lot of people, we don't mean to bring an ethical question into this, but they don't feel it's right. And they should have the right to eat whatever they want to, or not eat whatever they don't want to.
The question you might be asking yourself is, who actually benefits from these genetically modified crops? The farmers? Not so much. It's the biotech companies themselves. You see, what they do is they put patents on the food that they create, I mean. So they have a patent on a living organism. Ignoring the ethical questions about this, one should wonder, how do you actually control a living organism? You can't control exactly how it breeds and how it doesn't. So cross-pollination does happen between fields. Farmer A bought the seed from the biotech company and created their own product. Biotech company like maybe Monsanto, I don't know. So Farmer B has his field nearby. Cross-pollination happens, and suddenly Farmer B has the genetically modified plant among his. Farmer B can be sued by Monsanto for having that gene in his plants. This means that Farmer B can basically go completely out of business trying to fight this against Monsanto. And he probably will. Most farmers who go up against big companies, even if they're in the right, will go out of business simply because they don't have enough money to keep fighting the legal battles. Not only do they put the genetically modified crops patents on them, they also take crops that are held in local seed banks. And what they do is they just introduce the gene to that crop to create an even better crop. And they put the patent on it. Essentially just stealing the seeds from the farmer's crop. The local farmer's crop. Some of this doesn't sit right with me. I don't know if it does with you.
So we're throwing all these problems at you, all these issues. What are the solutions? Well, one possible solution for the whole seed thing, just let the farmers use their seeds. We've been doing this for thousands of years. They know what they're doing. We should just keep going. Another thing, the whole biotech companies taking control of the farmers. Just let the farmers go on their way. Yes, we need some regulation, we need some quality control, but biotech companies just keep putting farmers in debt with new buildings and new methods of doing things when there was nothing wrong with the old way or the old building. We put a stop to this. As for the environmental impacts, all we really need to do is just have more regulation. A few years in the lab, just making sure that we can cut down the side effects as much as possible. Because GM crops, they're not all that bad. They just need a little more regulation. And we just need a little more time to see what they do.
That's right.
yours to mind a silver screen and all its